Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Port Royal January Council meeting. Hope everybody had a good new year and is welcoming in the new year. We're going to go ahead and get started. And our first item is a presentation on a COVID vaccine information. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm pleased to have Dr. Luke Baxley from the Beaufort Memorial Emergency Medicine Department in our department medical control physician join us tonight. He's going to give you a PowerPoint presentation and talk through that on the nuts and bolts of the vaccine. And at the end, he is wide open to take your questions and have a discussion at your pleasure. Thanks, Dr. Baxley.
All right, thank you, Reese. So let me share this and we'll go ahead and get started. So just an introduction. One second. I'm Dr. Luke Baxley. I'm a board certified emergency medicine physician. I've been practicing emergency medicine at Beaufort Memorial for about 10 years. And I'm here tonight to discuss the vaccine. But I wanted to do this because I wanted people in the community to have someone that they know and someone hopefully that they trust and someone who works at the community hospital sit down and give you the truth about this vaccine and hopefully put people's fears to rest and help us as a community move forward and get vaccinated. So with that, I'll get started. First, I want to go over some key terms and bring everybody up to speed as far as the knowledge base goes and what you need to know to understand this vaccine. SARS-CoV-2 is the name of the actual virus that causes the clinical disease of COVID-19. The virus is pictured over on your right. It's really a tiny, too small to see with even a microscope, particle that it contains RNA, which is just a little bit of genetic code wrapped in a protein, and it has little spike proteins on the outside of it. When you get COVID-19 or when you contract SARS-CoV-2, your immune system recognizes it and you start to develop antibodies to it. Now, antibodies are just that, little proteins specific to the virus itself. And this is important when we talk about what the vaccine will do as opposed to what getting COVID will do in terms of an immune response. Antibodies from getting sick. So let's say you contract COVID-19, you get ill, you have a 2 to 3 week course where you feel terrible and then you get better. The immune response that you get from that, the circulating antibodies last about 3 to 6 months, which is not long at all and makes you susceptible to get this again. The immune response or the amount of antibodies that you get from getting vaccinated are about 20 times more than you would have if you got sick from it. We don't know how long those antibodies will last, but you can kind of confer or infer that if you have 20 times the amount of circulating antibodies, that your immunity is going to last for much longer than 3 to 6 months. We're estimating a year, 3 years, maybe, this may be like a flu shot that you get every year. This may be like a tetanus shot that you get once every 5 to 10 years. Time will tell. We will know the answer to that question when we've got data from those time periods to prove it. What is a vaccine? In general, a vaccine is kind of like a cheat sheet, like a message to your immune system that tells it how to make antibodies to a certain disease without you having to actually get that disease and suffer through in order to now have immunity. Vaccines have been around for a long, long time, and I want to talk about some of the ones that we have now, or actually some of the ones that we've used in the past. This little girl on your left suffers from poliomyelitis, and that's a disease caused by the polio virus, which affects the brain and central nervous system, and it causes just debilitating, lifelong, really deformities. This is a disease that I have never seen, I've never diagnosed, I've never treated. And the reason being is because someone made a vaccine and everybody got it. And now it's gone. Over to the two pictures on your right is a particularly nasty disease called smallpox that we had a while ago. These are scars from someone who has had smallpox. These are lifelong. This disease killed about 1/3 of the people that got it, and the ones that were fortunate enough to survive it were blind and left with these visible debilitating scars. Again, I've never seen this disease, never come in contact with it, never had to treat it. And it's because someone made a vaccine and everyone took it, and now it's gone. This actually, smallpox has been eradicated and is no longer a threat. Please excuse the gruesome pictures, but this really drives home some of the things that we have seen in the past and no longer see. On your left is a disease called meningococcemia, which is from a bacteria called Neisseria meningitidis, and it causes, in just basic terms, it causes necrosis of capillaries. It causes skin to break down to become necrotic. Super debilitating, has a huge high mortality rate, predominantly affects kids. It's just nasty. And it's a disease that I have not seen, have not treated. And the reason is we've got a vaccine and everyone took it. On the right is the brain of a child autopsied. You can see that this is just covered in pus. This is from Haemophilus influenza, a disease that used to kill many children, and it causes something called meningitis, and that's what's pictured there. Again, never seen it, never had to treat it, never lost any patients or children to it, and it's because someone made a vaccine and everybody took it. Again, this is meningococcemia. You can see on the left the necrosis involving the arms and legs, and this little girl was fortunate enough to survive it and live the rest of her life with those deformities. Again, don't see it, haven't seen it, won't see it because of a vaccine. I want to talk about some of the types of vaccines. The ones that we use today kind of vary in the way they work and the way they're designed. There's a live attenuated vaccine, which is the MMR, and the chickenpox nasal vaccine, and those actually contain live virus. So the chickenpox virus and the measles virus are live but attenuated, which means that they're just kind of weakened. There's inactivated, which is a actual virus that's been killed, which is the Hep A and the flu shot and pertussis. And these are vaccines that we routinely use. There's protein subunit vaccines, which they take the actual virus, chop it up, and then inject it as a vaccine, and that elicits an immune response. There's viral vector vaccines, which are fairly new, but a cool concept. They take a virus, scoop the guts out, put whatever they want to vaccinate inside of the virus, and use that virus as a delivery system to deliver the vaccine. Pretty neat. They're using it in cancer treatments to target cancer cells. And next, that brings us to the nucleic acid vaccines, which are the COVID vaccines that we have at the hospital now and are administering within the community. And those vaccines are basically a little fat globule, a lipid subunit, a lipid nanoparticle, just a piece of fat that they stuck a message in. And they're using that as a vaccine, and it is incredibly effective and incredibly safe. So the mRNA vaccines that are available now, and the ones that you probably will get a chance, or the ones that will be put in front of you shortly, are the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. Both are almost identical. Both use fat globules with a little piece of mRNA inside. The cool thing is that as opposed to the viruses that the vaccines that we talked about earlier, These do not contain any virus whatsoever. It's not a live virus. It's not a killed virus. It's not a virus that they chopped up. It contains no virus. What it does contain is mRNA, and M stands for messenger. And that's exactly what it is. It's a little message that's delivered through the vaccine to your immune system. And it's a cheat sheet that teaches your immune system how to make antibodies for COVID-19. It doesn't contain COVID-19. It doesn't contain any part of the viral genome. And what that does is once it's introduced, your body recognizes it, and it is a map of how to make one antibody against COVID-19. It doesn't change your DNA. This messenger RNA gets incorporated into the cell, stays about 72 hours, and then dissolves, and it's gone. The vaccine itself, a lot of people have liked this slide because it kind of brings it down to basics. And this is the package insert of the vaccine. So these are all of the contents that are included in the vaccine. And we'll talk about mRNA, which is what we just talked about. The lipid nanoparticle that they use is made of lipids, which is cholesterol, which is present in all of us. There's monobasic potassium phosphate, which is found in Gatorade. There's a couple of other ones that are found in day-to-day items, like there's one that helps cream of wheat cook faster. There's one that helps Jell-O hold together. And then there's several other salts that we find in normal saline we give the patients all day long, every day. And the last is sugar. It's basically just sucrose. And that's it. That's all that's in the vaccine. There's no aluminum, there's no poison, there's no fetal tissue, there's no baby lung cells, there's no microchips. You're looking at what's in it. Let's talk about safety. So are they safe? Are they effective? And why should we trust them? Are they safe? Absolutely. And I can say that because I know the process that they have to go through in order to get vetted and get the EUA, which is something that allows them to come out early, allows them to be delivered to the community early. The process that they have to go through is rigorous, and it's the same for all the other vaccines that are already available today. So the FDA requires that they have at least 3,000 patients and at least 8 weeks of data. The studies that backed these two vaccines combined had about 73,000 patients and months worth of data to support its safety. These are the two vaccines side by side. You can see that they're incredibly effective. So first, is it safe? Absolutely. Is it going to work when I get it? And this is proof like I've never seen before. The flu shot that we get is like 30 to 60% effective, and everyone takes that, and everyone hopes that they don't get the flu, and if they do, it's a mild case. This is 95% effective. You're virtually immune to COVID after you get this vaccine. So why should we trust the COVID-19 vaccine? This goes back to safety and what we talked about. The emergency use authorization that is required in order to get this vaccine to the public doesn't skip any steps. So they have to go through the same steps to prove that it's safe before they can move forward. Once that data is collected, it's submitted to some advisory committees, and one committee advises the FDA, one committee advises the CDC. And the people who sit on these committees are not government officials. They're not congressmen. They're not senators. They are scientists. They're PhDs and MDs. There's the head of pediatric infectious disease at Stanford. There's many researchers from Ivy League institutions that have dedicated their life to studying vaccines and viruses. And these are the people that I want to tell me if something's safe. And they absolutely say it is totally safe and give it 2 thumbs up and have pushed it forward. Another question that I got was how did they get it so quickly? How did they get it to the front lines and get it to us so quickly? COVID started earlier this year, and it seems like already, within the span of 9 months, we've got a vaccine, and that breeds some distrust in people. So I wanted to touch on that. One of the ways that, and there's several ways that they did it. One of the most important ways is that they funded the hell out of it. Everyone dumped everything they've got into it. There's virtually limitless funds to push this forward. They had volunteers that volunteered for the study. They didn't have to go out, beat on doors, ask people for volunteers. And the other thing is, this was a global effort. And we already touched on the emergency use authorization, which is once they prove it's safe, that's what they use to get it to us quickly, to bypass all the other stuff that standard vaccines have to go through. So once you get the vaccine, how long are you going to be protected? So most of the vaccines, all the vaccines that we're going to get initially are 2 doses. One is 3 weeks and one is 4 weeks apart. Once you get the first dose, about 2 weeks later, people are saying that it's 50% to 60, sometimes 70% effective 2 weeks after the first dose. 7 to 14 days after the second dose is when you reach your 95% effective. We'll know more, and time will tell. And we talked about, this might be a yearly thing. This might be every 3 years or every 5 years. This is a good question, is, will I still need to wear a mask? And the answer is yes. Once you get vaccinated, you'll still have to wear a mask. And the reason is that until we reach that 75% and get herd immunity, the virus can still jump around our community. So to mitigate that, everyone still needs to wear a mask. What should I expect when I get the vaccine? So this will elicit an immune response, which means that you'll have some, you might feel a little under the weather. You might have a slight headache. You might get a little low grade temp, want to sit on the couch all day, not really do anything, have a little less energy. And it lasts for a day and it goes away. What that means is your body has recognized that and mounted an immune response and started producing antibodies. And those antibodies are specifically against COVID-19. So the fact that you might not feel good for a day and like, my arm hurts a little bit, that's a good thing. That's what we want, and that's what we expect. The second shot, you got to get the second shot in order to get up to 95%. And what they're recommending is that if you get one shot, so if you get the Pfizer shot, you probably ought to get the Pfizer shot the second round. If you get the Moderna, get the Moderna the second round. Just theoretically, probably could switch and jump ship one way or the other, but until we know, they're recommending that you stick with the same company. Here's some special circumstances, like, is it safe to get the COVID-19 vaccine if I've already had COVID? And the answer is a resounding yes. And the reason being is because if you remember what we talked about earlier, if you get sick with COVID, no matter how sick you get, the antibodies are going to last about 3 to 6 months, and then you're susceptible to it again. So you can theoretically get it twice or more, depending. If you get the vaccine, your antibody response is about 20 times as much. And so, you're gonna have lasting protection way longer than you would if you got sick with COVID. If you went to Kroger and got your antibodies checked and you're antibody positive, that means that at some point you were exposed to COVID-19 and you developed antibodies to it. Still, somewhat of a blunted immune response, still recommend wholeheartedly that you get the vaccine. Benefits of vaccination, and this is really near and dear to me because this has been my life for the last year. This has been a large majority of the people I've treated. I have taken care of hundreds and hundreds of COVID positive patients and seen what it does to people and seen how sick they get and how miserable they are and honestly how long it lasts. which is just astounding. There is no other disease like this, and it is just nasty. The benefit of vaccination is you don't have to go through that. You don't have to get sick in order to become immune to it. You can just take this little cheat sheet, give it to your immune system, and produce antibodies that will keep you from getting sick. The other thing that I wanted to talk about was several aspects of actually getting COVID. It does hurt young people. I see this every day. I worked a shift today in the ER where I saw probably 12 COVID positive patients, most of which could go home, most of which are not going to die from this, most of which, will do just fine. But they are super sick. They're short of breath when they walk to the refrigerator. They've got bilateral pneumonia. They're weak. They're fatigued. Saw a guy 6 weeks ago, young, healthy, takes no medications, came in and said, "Doc, I can't breathe." He's speaking in 2 to 3 word sentences. Like everything hurts. My hair hurts. My teeth hurt. My eyes hurt. And we ran the test. He had COVID, and I sent him home. And the only thing I had to send him home with were vitamins. That's it. There's no medicine for this. There's nothing even to help the symptoms. I told him to take D3, vitamin C, and a multivitamin, and drink plenty of fluid because I didn't have anything else to help him with. I saw that same guy 6 weeks later, came back in and said, "I can't do this anymore. It's killing me. I still have fevers. I still get short of breath. I still have no energy to do anything. I've lost 20 pounds. You got to help me." And ran a bunch of tests. He was in the same position he was in 6 weeks ago. Still didn't need to be admitted to the hospital. Still could go home, but just looked horrible, just horrible. And he's one of those long haulers, the 25% of the people who get COVID who have symptoms for months and months and never feel good. And if you get the vaccine, you can skip all that. We talked about the adverse effects of healthy people. So people that are super fit, super healthy, still get hurt from this virus. And they did a study looking at collegiate athletes. They get routinely screened for COVID so they can participate in college sports. And so they had a large number of college athletes that tested positive for COVID, most of which had no symptoms whatsoever, most of which felt fine. They took all of these guys and ran them through a cardiac MRI, and about a quarter of them had myocarditis, which is inflammation and infection of the heart itself. A large portion of these people went on to develop some degree of congestive heart failure, exercise intolerance, and had to withdraw from collegiate sports altogether. So it is dangerous for young people. It does hurt young people. It might not kill young people. It might not put them in the hospital. But there are ill effects that last and last and last. The other benefits are obvious. You protect yourself and your family. You protect the people that you take care of. You help stop the spread in the community. And more importantly, you set the example for those that look up to you. For you guys with medical training, you may be the only person that people know with any type of medical training. You're also leaders in the community, and people look at you for direction and look at you to basically tell them what to do. And you have a crazy opportunity to lead by example, to step up and to get this incredibly safe and incredibly effective vaccine and stop this spread within the community. The only other thing that I really would say would be that this is the only way to bring this to an end. This is the only way to stop this. We can't stand back and let it run its course. It would kill way too many people. The vaccine is the only way to stop this. And unless everyone participates, this is going to be a disaster. And I'm going to be sitting here this time next year giving the same lecture, only there's going to be a lot of people that that you care for that will be dead. and have died of COVID. Lastly, there is a ton of misinformation out there. There is a lot of so-called subject matter experts that feel that they have a platform and that they have credentials to tell people what's what. That most of this information is just not true. I'd say almost all of this information is just not true. Know where you get your sources, know where you get your information. Here's some links to places that contain peer-reviewed, vetted, good, factual information from physicians and scientists. And if you have questions, I would say start there. At this point, I'd like to open it up to questions, and this is really the gist of all of it. I want everyone to be able to ask whatever questions they have, and see if I can help put some fears to rest. So I'll open up the floor to questions.
Council members have any questions for Dr. Baxley?
I just was wondering, Dr. Baxley, when you think that we're going to have this available to the public?
I'd say spring, probably towards the spring. And honestly, I don't know for sure. I know it's being pushed to the front of everything. We've already vaccinated a good bit of the hospital staff. We've already vaccinated a lot of the nursing home staffs. We're moving to people age 65 and older. All the healthcare providers have gotten vaccinated and are waiting on their second vaccine. So it's just a matter of time before we roll it out to the community. I say we, I mean, I have no control over it, but
Yeah.
I would hopefully.
No. Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I've already had my first. I'm
There you
waiting
go.
on my second in another week.
Excellent.
And Dr. Baxley, it's my understanding, it's not a lack of vaccines available. It's just systematically the way they want to roll this out. We have enough people to give the vaccine. We have the vaccine. They're just doing it in a systematic. It's because I'm hearing some people, again, that this information think there's just not enough people to give it, or we don't have it. We do have it. They're just rolling it out in a systematic way.
Exactly right.
Okay. Just wanted to confirm that. So the hospital is not lacking in vaccine. People just need, the people that are eligible just need to sign up and get on the schedule.
Absolutely. We have enough vaccine. Right now, we're getting shipments in routinely from what I hear. It's not a lack of substrate. It's not a lack of infrastructure to administer it. It's just this phase, this process of different phases where we want to vaccinate the frontline workers first, then the most at-risk individuals, and then the rest of the community.
Very good. Other council members' questions?
I was going to ask Dr. Baxley first. Thanks for that. That was very informative and very. I don't have no history in medicine at all, so that was very easily understandable. So I appreciate that. Is there who can administer the vaccine? Is it only the hospitals? Is there tiers to medical providers that will have it, or is it only hospitals? How's that come out?
So anyone who is licensed to administer an intramuscular injection can give the vaccine. There's some training that goes along with it. It doesn't take long, and so pretty much anyone can get trained up on how to give it. A lot of the training is just basically technique, but I'm not aware of any strenuous credentials that you got to have in order to be able to give a vaccine.
So at some point it could be people's primary care provider, family doctor.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Kevin, my wife had told me today that CVS now has a sign that they will be getting it in the future.
Oh,
So
wow.
it'll be like you can get the flu shot at CVS or any of the other ones. They're again like April, spring time frame, but that's when it's available to the public. It'll be there. Dr. Baxley, I heard one other thing that came up, that one of the restrictions is if you've had any other vaccine in the last 2 weeks, you can't get this vaccine. Is that something that you're aware of? Is that something people should know? If they're coming up, they should hold off and do this one first?
Yeah, and I've heard that too, and I can't. I think it's a lack of knowledge and a lack of, not a lack of knowledge, but a lack of data that's out there. And so, it's a brand new vaccine. We haven't had a chance to study it. So it's safer to just give it in isolation is what I'm guessing. But they've done studies at looking at how many antigens, which are the component of a vaccine that elicits a response. They're looked at how many antigens theoretically the immune system could handle at once.
Okay.
Meaning, like, how many vaccines could you theoretically get at once? And the answer is over 100,000. And that's how complex our immune system is. It can tolerate multiple vaccinations at the same time. I mean, look at the little babies that we give 5 shots at a time. I mean, my guess is that this is going to go away in the future, and you get the COVID vaccine whenever you can get it.
Very good.
So
Any
while anybody else thinks of another question, I'm going to go ahead and share this screen real quick and then take it down. But this is the most current up-to-date information on DHEC's website about when the vaccine is going to be available. And we note here that there's a providers list in the white box, and there's some commercial pharmacies involved in that. Those will be providing it, but they will be still providing it to those people that are eligible under the phased program. And when we get into that first blue solid line, we see we're still currently in phase 1A, but there is discussion to beginning to end that and move to phase 1B, maybe a little bit quicker than late winter. And I know that the political arms in Columbia are working on that very hard.
Yeah, very good. Thank you for that.
And I guess just one more question, Dr. Baxter, just to understand it. So when you get the vaccine and it builds that, basically, like you said, it gives your body a message to build hundreds, whatever the number was, of antibodies. At that point, if you come in contact with COVID, do you still get infected with COVID? Does it just kill the disease, or does it just make your body to where you don't get sick from COVID?
That's an excellent question and a tough concept. When you get the vaccine, you start to make antibodies shortly thereafter. The antibodies neutralize COVID virus. And so the more antibodies you have, the quicker that virus will be neutralized. So you can kind of imagine that, as you progress through the stage of after the first shot, then get the second shot, if during that period of time you come in contact with COVID, if you get sick, it will probably be much milder. Once you've reached full immunity, that 95% immunity, what happens is, let's say you're out at a restaurant, someone sneezes, you get a big dose of COVID. What you've got already are circulating antibodies that just eat it up, and it never takes hold, it never starts replicating, and therefore you never get sick.
So at that point, and using that example, would you be able to transmit COVID yourself at that point if your body has neutralized it? Are you still able to, if you sneeze, are you still going out, or is it your body keep it in?
That's also a good question, and they don't know yet. They don't know if this vaccine is going to make you completely immune to spreading the disease. They know what it does, and the reason is because that's what they studied. They studied the efficacy instead of studying if it prevents you from getting a little bit of COVID and maybe spreading a little bit of COVID and never really getting sick from it. Those studies are coming, and so we'll know the answer to that question at some point. We just don't know right now. I can tell you from a science and a medicine base that it probably does, to a large extent, prevent you from also spreading COVID. But we don't know, so we can't say.
I guess the best case scenario is if you are sneezing on someone, they've had the vaccine. So even if you are spreading it, they neutralize it.
Yeah. It's probably not a good idea to sneeze on someone.
That's why, until we know that, that's why wearing masks is still important.
Yeah, that's the whole reason for the mask is using it. Yeah.
That's the point.
Well, Dr. Baxter, we can't thank you enough for, giving us this, and hopefully there is lots of people watching this and heard from you. And again, I know that you guys, I know the hospital and yourself are available to answer the questions that people have. And that's the key, is they need to know if they've got a question, there's a way to get it answered. We're certainly, like Kevin said, we're not trained medical. We don't, but we've learned things here, and we know where to send people for information. And that's really what's helpful and what's important to the.
Certainly, and I am always available to answer questions. I'm really passionate about this because this has been my life and I want this to be over. I want this to end. The only way we're going to get to do that is if everyone gets this vaccine. There are a couple of other things that I wanted to touch on just for
Go ahead.
sake, just for the sake of them being out there, and that's infertility and Bell's palsy and pregnant and breastfeeding. So pregnant and breastfeeding, I've had a lot of questions. Can I get it? Should I get it? Do I need to get it? Pregnant patients and patients that are breastfeeding were excluded from the study. So we don't know, we don't have data. There's nothing in this vaccine that is teratogenic or could cause birth defects that we're aware of. mRNA certainly can't. And just from a personal note, I don't see anything that's dangerous in this vaccine. They recommend that they take it on a case-by-case basis, and they recommend that the patient speak with their physician about it. So if you're pregnant and at home and isolated from everyone else, it's your choice. If you're like some of the nurses that I work with, gowned up in PPE, 6 months pregnant, taking care of a COVID positive patient in an ICU, you should probably get it. And reason being is because COVID, the virus itself, is way more dangerous and way more likely to cause miscarriage and birth defects and you name it on our immunocompromised pregnant patients. So that's one thing that they talked about. Breastfeeding, also case by case, talk to your doctor about it. Infertility is a question that comes up and is a question that has come up every time a vaccine has been rolled out. And it's always a difficult one to answer because it's rumor. It is only rumor. There's nothing out there that's ever proven that any vaccine ever has caused infertility. And I don't know why this topic keeps coming up, but it does. What we know about COVID, the actual virus, is that it affects almost every organ system in your body. I don't see how it would exclude your reproductive system from that. There's a study out there that's being done right now looking at COVID, and it's starting to show that it affects sperm quality, and that can also lead to infertility. So I wouldn't be worried about the vaccine causing infertility. I'd be worried about COVID causing infertility. The other thing is Bell's palsy. There are some people out there that are really hung up on this vaccine causing Bell's palsy, and 7 of the participants in the studies of 73,000 got Bell's palsy during the vaccine phase at some point between 3 and 42 days after the vaccine. And the answer to that is that yes, they got Bell's palsy. Yes, they got the vaccine. They are true, and unrelated. And if you look at a certain population, so Bell's palsy is really common. It's going to happen in the community regardless. People are going to get Bell's palsy. If you look at 100,000 patients, 25 to 35 of them are going to get Bell's palsy within a year. There's 40,000 cases of Bell's palsy in the United States annually. So it would just make sense that if you took a certain bit of that population and vaccinated them, that some of them are going to get Bell's palsy because some of them are going to get Bell's palsy anyway. And if you look at the numbers, the participants in the study got Bell's palsy. They were way less likely to get Bell's palsy than the general population. So I hope that clears things up.
Mayor and
Good.
council, thank you very much for having Dr. Baxley and taking the time out tonight to educate our community.
Sure.
I have one more question.
Yes, sir.
I know we're in phase 1A and we, will eventually move to 1B. Can we talk a little bit about the vaccination registration process and how that works and how people need to interact or interface with that in order to get set up? Because I understand that we've got a certain amount of the population in that phase 1A that are vaccinated, and there's going to be some folks that do not want to take the vaccination. And there are some calls now to, all right, if you're not going to take the vaccine, let's start moving this process along. So what do those folks need to do in terms of registering, or what's the protocol?
I could talk about the science behind it. I can't really talk about the logistics and the protocol. What I know is from experience, I got the vaccine about 2 weeks ago. And I went on well, first I was invited. I got an email from the CDC, was identified as a frontline provider and invited to get the vaccine. I went to VAMS, VAMS, which is the Vaccine Administration something or another,
Yeah.
and logged on, created an account, answered the screening questions, and then they sent me a link to register for when I was going to get the vaccine.
Also, Dr. Baxley, you might just tell them one of the things that when we did get that email, that it is unique to you and you can't forward it to somebody else to use.
It is. This is true.
So this is a partnership with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the CDC, and it's hosted at usa.gov. But folks can go to VAMS website right now, vams.cdc.gov, and get some information on how the process will go once it's time for their class in the phase to sign up. But right now, this is the control measure that makes sure that folks are in the correct phase, are getting the vaccine when they're supposed to get it. So that, Dan, that's what I would encourage people to do right now, is monitor DHEC for the advancement of the phases and monitor the vaccine website, VAMS, for when they can sign up to get it. And then it'll guide them to the correct provider where they'll be able to get it.
That's, yeah, because there's going to have to be some validation and vetting for the subsequent phases, because we're going to start moving into school teachers and daycare workers and other essential workers. So, there's going to have to be a process and a vetting to ensure that this is being done properly, and not, and so that's what I want to emphasize. So going to that website is certainly a step in the right direction.
And currently it's employer-based, and in the ones that you just highlighted, I would fully expect that to continue. So the human resources departments of all those employers are doing what Dr. Baxley described for their employees.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Very good
Thank you,
information.
Dr. Baxley.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me be here and for donating your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you for what you've shared with us, because I think it's very important to the public to understand and how important that vaccine is. And Chief, if you can you forward us or email us a copy of the timeline and all?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And lastly, Dr. Baxley, thank you for what you do at the hospital every day,
Yes.
and seeing those patients and dealing with them and helping them get through all aspects of health, not just COVID.
Yes, sir.
The emergency room
you.
is a tough place to be. I visited a few times in my life, and BMH saved my life one time there. So thank you very much for what you do.
Yes,
Well,
sir.
thank you and all your team that works with you out there.
Here's what's happening in Beaufort County.
Good morning, everybody. A lot of good network going on out there, just like a Chamber of Commerce event, right? That's perfect, perfect. Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is John Remble. I'm the Airports Director here at Hilton Head Island. And I wanted to welcome all of you today, all of our elected officials, members of our Airports Board who are here, members of the media, and a big welcome to United Airlines, our newest airline partner. Yesterday afternoon, United Airlines started their airline service here at Hilton Head Island with their direct connection to Washington Dulles International Airport. And we're lucky today to have representatives from both United Airlines and Washington Dulles Airport, and you'll hear from them in just a few minutes. But United's service represents really a giant leap for us on Hilton Head Island. It connects our airport and our island to the rest of the world, literally. The new service directly contributes to our mission at the airport of providing the most efficient, safe, and reliable travel options to our residents and our visitors to the island. It's an understatement to say that we're excited to have United here at Hilton Head. Welcome, United. At this time, I would like to have our United Airlines representative, Noelle DeMar, come up to the podium and say a few words. Noelle, I have to give a quick introduction to Noelle. She's been involved from the very beginning with United as far as getting the station ready for service. So she's done a phenomenal job. We've worked a lot of things out in the last few months, and glad to have you here.
Thank you, John. Good morning. Good morning. On behalf of the 90,000 United employees at United, thank you for your warm welcome this morning. I'd like to take a moment to recognize our new Hilton Head area employees. This is a new location for us, and this team will be helping to make these flights a great success. United Airlines is absolutely thrilled to be here and to welcome Hilton Head to the United Airlines family as we launch new service to our hubs in Washington, Chicago, and Newark, New Jersey. Adding a new route like Hilton Head will connect customers to our bustling hubs, offering more options to travel to hundreds of locations around the globe. At United, the opportunity to serve our customers is more than just a transaction to us. It's an interaction. Every customer, every flight, every day. We look forward to sharing all that United has to offer with new and returning customers to Hilton Head and the surrounding areas. On behalf of United, thank you for choosing us to connect you to the world.
Thank you, Noelle. And now I'd like to introduce Dion Berry, who's our representative from Washington Dulles International Airport. Dion, welcome.
Good morning. On behalf of Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority, it's with great pleasure to welcome the Hilton Head Island Airport to your nation's capital and to the Dulles International Airlines Service family. You're joining a large family of more than 140 members from all across the globe. Located in Northern Virginia, just outside Washington, D.C., Dulles International is one of United's fastest growing hubs. Together with its Star Alliance partners, United offers 271 nonstop flights to 127 nonstop destinations across 5 continents, providing easy connectivity, big and small, to communities big and small. Soon, Dulles International will have the Silver Line Metro Rail access to downtown Washington, D.C., taking passengers from the airport to the city in under an hour without having to transfer trains. This will make Dulles International one of only a handful of airports in the country with a station on its city's subway system. However, if you choose to stay in Northern Virginia, it's a growing area, and I encourage you to visit many beautiful award-winning wineries, shopping districts, and historic tourist destinations throughout our area. As the airport authority, it's our goal to make Dulles International Airport the predominant gateway not only to the Washington, D.C. metro region, but for the entire East Coast in an effort to help our family members' airports like Hilton Head get better connected to the nation's capital and to the world. Again, welcome to the Dulles International family. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dion. We're very excited to be linked up with Washington Dulles International Airport and United. And now at this time, I'd like to have our hometown mayor, John McCann, come up and say a few words. I know this is one of his favorite things to do, so welcome, Mr. Mayor.
I'd like to hear that background sound effects again, too, like the young lady just got just now. I mean, it sounds like we're really in an airport. It feels really good. Well, on behalf of the town of Hilton Head Island, I welcome you all today. Susan, it's nice having you here with us. There is no better place for the friendly skies of United to fly over the number 1 island in the country, Hilton Head Island. United Island operates a large domestic and international flight network all through the world. And I must tell you a personal story. When I was dating my wife, Valerie, she lived in San Francisco. And I flew the United flight every Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock from New York to San Francisco, months and months in a row. Worthwhile trip. But I must tell you, when you fly the same plane every week, same time, it's the same movie. You get the same movie for a whole month. So I have very, very memorable and dear experiences flying United all through the country. It was very good for us. Our goal is to ensure the welcoming and the care of our people that are here, our residents and our tourists. And I feel they're in safe hands with, with United coming in. All of this has been put together by John Rumbold and his people. All too often, we give ourselves a lot of credit, the town, its employees, but John and his staff has done an excellent job on this, John. On behalf of the town, I thank you very, very much. I'm happy personally to have United here and back into my life, and I thank you all for coming, and go United. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Now we'd like to introduce our Chairman of County Council, Mr. Stu Rodman. Thanks, Stu.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you all being here. The expansion of all of the airlines here will be a significant event for Hilton Head and for the area, both from an economic development standpoint and for a tourist standpoint. I think we'll probably pick up, between all the airlines, probably 100,000 additional people coming that would not have otherwise come to the area for both tourism and for corporate hospitality. So it's going to be great. A little history. I used to work for United Technologies, which was originally United Aircraft, and 90 years ago, United Aircraft, United Airlines, and Boeing were all the same company. In fact, United was actually started by Boeing. So I refreshed my memory on the history. So 90 years ago, United had 60 pilots. They had 40 airplanes. They're basically in the air cargo business. And the number of passengers boarding daily was about 25, and it took 4 or 5 days to fly across the country, so there were probably 100 people en route at any particular time. The stewardesses were registered nurses, and the hubs are the same as they are today for the most part. So some interesting history, but we do welcome United. Appreciate your coming here. Look forward to a long relationship with you, and just again, thank you. And thank you, John, for all you've done.
Thanks, Steve. It should go without saying that we can't do what we do here at the airport without the support of the town of Hilton Head and County Council as well. And now another very important person I want to introduce. She's kind of sneaking away off the side there, but the person who I refer to as the #1 cheerleader for the Hilton Head Island Airport is Leslie Richardson. And there she is. I thought she snuck off with her crew. She's always getting the crew moving around to the right place. When I mentioned to Leslie that we would love to have some more community involvement in these events, she jumped up and basically just kind of pushed me out of the way and said, I got this, okay? And she is great. She is the biggest cheerleader for the airport. I'm super happy to have her and her group involved. And the Yacht Club was here yesterday for the first flight in and the first departure. So everybody got a real good feeling of that Southern hospitality when they came to Hilton Head Island. And the ones leaving certainly will miss it while they're gone, but I'm sure they'll come right back. So Leslie, thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you so much. Well, I hope you all got to see my staff here. They're so amazing, and they have made the most incredible cupcakes with HHH to IAD. So be sure you take one because it's going to be a collector's item. Anyway, I am Leslie Richardson, and we love the Hilton Head Island Airport. We are so excited. We are so excited. And my daughter has just accepted a job in Washington, D.C. So I promise, I was talking to you yesterday about sales, we will be going on this flight so many times. We are so excited. And I just can't tell you, John Rumbold and his leadership has really been amazing, and you have delivered on all the promises you made. So thank you.
All right, I did mention this is a Chamber of Commerce event, so no event would be complete without the Chamber being here and saying a few words. So I want to have our Chamber President and CEO, Bill Miles, come up. And right after Bill speaks, we're going to do our ribbon cutting as well. Bill, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And it is an exciting day for Hilton Head Island. And when you think back maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, and we would have said April 1st, we'll be at the airport on Hilton Head Island for a ribbon cutting for United, somebody would have thought, that's probably the best April Fool's joke going. So the great thing is it's not. And on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, it's our pleasure to welcome United as well as the airport in Dulles to the Hilton Head Island family. It's indeed a pleasure to have you servicing our local airport here. And when you think about all the great things to come and the partnerships that we will have as we move forward will be absolutely fantastic. So this is great not only for our local residents, it's great for our visitors. And if you're going to have a thriving community, you've got to have a vibrant airport. And this airport right now is vibrant, and lots of people have been involved in making that happen. And from John Rimbold, his board of directors, the county, the town, so many people have helped this day come to fruition. So on behalf of the Chamber, we thank you, we salute you, and we're honored to have United servicing Hilton Head Island. Have a great day.
Mr. Mayor, Leslie, and Susan. You and Susan are going to hold. Come right out in the center here. You guys get the big scissors.
Okay, so Bill's holding this.
Where do you want them? Stu, come on up.
Yeah, I'll hold it. Thank you very much.
Can everyone just take one step in closer to each other?
Okay, closer together. Okay. Hello. Okay. So y'all come this way just a little bit. Okay.
As we close, I just want to thank everybody for being here today. Don't forget, we do have some refreshments over on the side, so please take advantage. I also want to thank our partners with the FAA, the South Carolina Aeronautics Commission, and of course the town, the county. And I'm going to thank TSA. Not a lot of people thank TSA, but they went through a lot with us, so we thank them for their flexibility. And again, thank you all, and we'll do photos up front.
And that's what's happening in Beaufort County.